Did you know the average person loses a full year of their life just looking for misplaced items? Crazy, right? Today, we're going to decode something incredibly relatable, yet honestly totally misunderstood. We're diving deep into the hidden psychology of why some people simply cannot sleep in a messy room. If you've ever felt like your physical environment completely dictates your mental state, buckle up, because we're about to reframe exactly how you look at your own mind.
Picture this. Have you ever tried to climb into bed after a relentlessly long day, only to find yourself just staring at that pile of clothes draped over the chair? Or maybe it's a random stack of mail sitting on the nightstand. Now, most people would just close their eyes, tune it out, and deal with it tomorrow. But for you, it feels like the room is literally shouting at you. You can't relax, and you absolutely cannot sleep until every single item is put exactly in its rightful place. And because of that 11 p.m. urge to tidy up, you've probably been hit with labels like, "Oh, you're just a neat freak," or "Come on, you're overreacting." Sound familiar? These are the kind of societal labels casually thrown at people who crave order. And honestly, they carry an emotional weight that can make you question your own habits. It creates this frustrating internal conflict, kind of making you wonder if you really are just being way too rigid about the space around you.
So let's clear that up right now in Section 1, the neat freak myth.
Psychology actually tells us that this overwhelming, almost buzzing feeling you get when standing in a messy room, it isn't you being difficult or obsessive. It is deeply rooted in your biology. When your environment is cluttered, multiple visual stimuli are literally competing for neural representation in your visual cortex. It creates a massive sensory bottleneck. This is an active biological reaction to physical noise that other people are just naturally wired to tune out, meaning your brain is fundamentally processing physical space entirely differently than theirs.
Which brings us right into Section 2, the biology of clutter.
Cortisol. It's the biological villain of our story today. You see, for a highly sensitive brain, clutter isn't just a visual eyesore, it is an active cortisol trigger. When your visual cortex gets overloaded by physical disorganization, your brain interprets that sensory bottleneck as a subtle threat. It signals your amygdala to release cortisol, the stress hormone. And research shows this actively and severely diminishes your working memory capacity. The mess is quite literally stressing your body out on a chemical level, making it so much harder to just process information.
Think about the stark difference between a neurotypical brain and a highly sensitive one. To someone else, a messy desk is just a project for tomorrow. They can easily just walk away. But to your brain, it sees a to-do list that never, ever stops running. This triggers what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. That's the human tendency to remember uncompleted tasks way better than completed ones. A messy room acts as a giant 3D manifestation of uncompleted tasks. This constant, relentless pull on your attention makes even simple decisions feel incredibly hard, because your mental energy is actively being drained by the chaos.
So, cleaning before bed, that equals a vital mental reset. When you put away those clothes at night, you aren't just tidying up. Actually, you are performing a mandatory biological reset. By removing the visual triggers of uncompleted tasks, you're actively lowering your cortisol levels. This lets your body transition from the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight node, into the parasympathetic nervous system. It's how you finally shift from a state of high alert into a state of deep, restorative rest.
Let's dive into Section 3, seeking cognitive quiet. Consider the really powerful Japanese concept of danshari. It's the habit of letting go of things you just don't need, and not just for aesthetics, but specifically for mental clarity. In neuroaesthetics, there's a proven inverse relationship between physical objects and cognitive availability. Think of it like a computer's memory. Every single item in your visual field requires a tiny fraction of your brain's processing power to identify and categorize. By removing physical noise from your environment, you're actually giving your brain back that processing power. You're leaving more room to think, to feel, and to just breathe.
And this brings us to the ultimate psychological goal, cognitive quiet. If you simply cannot sleep in a mess, it's highly likely because your mind actively craves the specific state. In a state of cognitive quiet, the brain shifts away from the high-frequency beta waves associated with stress and alertness and settles right into the calmer, more rhythmic alpha waves. Your mind requires the external world to be perfectly quiet so your internal world can finally function at its best.
Deep processors actually require a few core things: high environmental stability, space to analyze background patterns, and tightly managed executive function so they can enter a flow state. Individuals with sensory processing sensitivity are constantly, and I mean automatically, analyzing subtle nuances and what-ifs in the background of everyday life. Because your cognitive engine is already running at such a massive capacity, a clean room isn't some fancy luxury. It is a strict biological requirement to free up the executive function needed for your brain to reach its sharpest, most strategic version.
Now check this out. Section 4, the intelligence connection.
We've all heard that romanticized trope, right? That geniuses are inherently messy. But the truth is, high IQ minds actually practice selective organization.
Sure, they might tolerate a chaotic creative workshop or a massive, unstructured digital file system because those are spaces of pure generation, but they fiercely protect the organized spaces that directly impact their executive function, like sleeping and working areas. They intentionally contain the chaos so it doesn't bleed into the zones where they need absolute clarity.
Highly intelligent minds flat out refuse to waste their limited cognitive bandwidth navigating clutter. Every single time you have to step over a pile of shoes or search for a pen under a stack of papers, you suffer a microdose of decision fatigue. These individuals realize they only have a finite amount of cognitive bandwidth available each day, so they proactively control their immediate environments to dedicate their premium brain power to problem solving, creativity, and, well, the things that actually matter in life.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, chasing psychological safety.
This creates a truly powerful mindset shift. Step 1, let go of the uptight label completely. Step 2, recognize this as a highly sophisticated form of emotional regulation. And Step 3, see it as actively protecting your peace and focus. When you reframe the compulsion to clean this way, absolutely everything changes. By taking command of your physical environment, you're executing a high-level psychological strategy to protect your focus from the constant conditioning that keeps most of the world distracted and totally overwhelmed.
Because you intrinsically understand a profound truth. A messy environment leads to a messy mind. Our physical surroundings are so often fractal reflections of our internal state, and vice versa. Individuals who value depth and clarity have learned this lesson the hard way. They know that to maintain mental sharpness, they have to actively, daily, choose to reject the cycle of physical distraction.
So the next time someone rolls their eyes because you're folding laundry or wiping down a counter at 11 p.m., just remember the concept of cognitive offloading. You aren't just doing some late-night chore. You are performing an externalized completion loop. By physically resolving the visual disorganization in your space, you're sending a direct neurological signal to your parasympathetic nervous system that the day's work is truly done. You're communicating that it's finally safe to power down and rest.
And the absolutely crucial point is this: you aren't chasing perfection, you are chasing psychological safety. This entire behavior, the organization, the tidying, the inability to sleep in a mess, it's ultimately about creating a safe, regulated psychological environment for yourself so you can actually thrive rather than just survive.
So, are you ready to stop apologizing for protecting your cognitive peace? Really think about that tonight, the next time you clear off your nightstand. Your need for order isn't a flaw. It is a profound strength, a sign of intellectual strategy, and a literal biological necessity for your well-being.